Welcome back to the Night Beat. Fred Burton, Chief Security Officer with Stratfor, a global security firm based right here in Austin, kind enough to give us a few minutes to talk more about today's events and the events really of this month. Fred, a pleasure to have you back with us.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Let's start with the first bombing on March the 2nd. The investigation began. It was then said by police that it could have possibly been self-inflicted. That has been changed now to a homicide. How did that initial designation change the investigation?
Well, the urgency factor kicks in when the second bomb goes off. From an investigative perspective, remember, you're going to have your federal partners look and examine the evidence, so it's going to be placed in the queue with all the other bombings that might happen around the country. So in essence, the urgency to find this bomb maker, Brian, doesn't kick in till the second bomb cooks off.
Does that, though, change the way people might react, thinking that it might have been set off by the person that was injured?
Absolutely. When you're looking at the motivation behind the bomber, and there will be a very specific motivation that will make no sense to you and I or to your viewers, but for the bomb maker, it will be perfectly logical as to why he chose these target sets.
The ATF National Response Team, we have learned, is now going to be part of this investigation. How significant is that?
They're very good. We used to partner with the ATF International Response Team on overseas explosions and some of the huge terrorism events that I've investigated in the past. This is the nation's best resources to look at this kind of problem. And in essence, no agency goes it alone anymore since 9/11. ATF, the FBI, and APD will work together to try to resolve this.
All three explosions, according to police, appear to be related. What kind of things during the investigation? You've investigated these kinds of bombings before. What kinds of things will indicate they are related?
Well, a few things leaped out at me when I looked at this, and I had tweeted about it earlier, Brian, that you saw too. You have a geographic profiling of the first bomb in the north, then we have the attack cycle moving south. So you've got a north to south flow. So is that because the bomb maker travels that route every day because maybe he has a job, and in all probability it's a he? Bomb makers leave unique signatures, meaning how the bomb is constructed, the timing device, the firing train, the batteries, the forensics on the paper that's written, and the autopsies of victims that are survived, as well as those that have passed away. There's a tremendous amount of forensics on bodies when you start looking at that. So by close of business today, and by the time this airs, you will have a good composition of exactly what took place, and ATF, the FBI, and APD will know exactly what kind of bomb this is.
Will the fact that they're minorities be a big part of the investigation?
I think that when you look at this from a federal response capability, this will resonate across the nation. This will resonate at headquarters. So in essence, tomorrow morning in the FBI's daily briefing and the ATF director's briefing, there will be a status update of this case. This kind of case will resonate inside the Beltway. So because of the three bombings now in our post 9/11 world, with South by Southwest underway, this special event, you're going to have the nation's best resources devoted to try to resolve this problem. On a practical level, what does that mean? Instead of having maybe a dozen people work this case, you're going to have 250 people working this case on the scene and behind, looking at all aspects of this.
These aren't easy to put together and build. Devices, explosive devices like
to get them
this.
work.
To get them to work. So this is somebody that knows what they're doing.
Exactly. This is somebody that has experience in dealing with bombs. Either he has practiced enough, perhaps received some kind of military training, maybe in the EOD world, or he has studied bombs to get them to work right. I've made bombs. I've been to the FBI school to investigate bombings, and it takes a lot of practice to get them right.
Finally, before we let you go, South by Southwest is taking place now. Hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of people in town for that. What security measures need to take place to make sure those people stay safe?
Well, my heart bleeds for APD in this case, as well as the victims, meaning you have a tough enough time, 300 officers short, to manage a special event like South by with the eyes of the world here, and now you have public safety resources, EMS, fire department pulled away from your protective umbrella, which is also very interesting when you factor in the locations for these bombings. So this is really Austin's worst nightmare during this time frame.
Fred Burton, Chief Security Officer with Stratfor. Thank you so much for your time, as always.
Thank you for having me, Brian.